Hello. My name is Ivo. I work as a product manager in Glia. And what we just saw in the video is the essence what Glia does. Glia does digital customer service. So we are sort of reinventing the way banks and the financial institutions are serving their customers. It's a software as a service platform already being used by hundreds of banks and credit unions, mostly in the US. But today I'm not here to talk about the functionality. I'd share some insights and give you a quick peek how we do product management in Glia and how is product management impacted by this stage of hypergrowth that we are in. I have to admit that I had to look up the definition of hypergrowth, that it's a stage when a company's compound annual growth rate is above 40%. Well, that's definitely super exciting, but it's a financial metric. So not gonna go into that route, but talk about how it impacts the product team at this stage. Well, where does this rapid growth come from? Obviously, it comes from the fact that you're getting more and more customers, and it's not just that the number of customers is increasing. The customer, I would say, profile is also changing, well, a bit oversimplified, but essentially from being niche to a pragmatic buyer. And such sort of pragmatic or mass market customers introduce lots of harder requirements on the product. Well, obviously the scalability, but there are compliance requirements, there are expectations on administration, reporting, so on and so on. And to cater for all these needs, your team needs to also grow. So that's the main topic for today. How have we sort of grown the product team? How we have managed with the changing stream structure? And I'd like to take you to a short journey over three, I would say, snapshots in time. So first, let's look a few years back from this pre-hypergrowth stage. Let's say 3 years ago. Not really from this initial startup phase of finding the product market fit and so on. But back then, we were already fairly established, had a working business model. And the product management was what I would say organically arranged. There was a single product manager, part-time product designer, a few engineering teams around it. And I think this is quite natural at this stage. So few people mostly actually working together in the same office. So not too many formal processes, not that sort of strict structure, and everything, well, gets more or less decided on the go, as all people know each other, and you can work efficiently like that. But the problem is that with such approach, when you start to grow, it doesn't scale very well. Because you add new people to the team, and guess what? They haven't always been there and know how things are. So it takes a lot of overhead to bring them up to speed and get efficiency. So how did we tackle that? First, the key is having a clear product vision. Glia definitely had a product vision, but it was more on people's heads and maybe a bit less formally written down. So we took time to define who are our user personas, what exactly needs to be possible to do with the product, what do they want to achieve, what they shouldn't do, and so on. So when a new person joins, they can sort of easily be brought up to speed, or there is a clear vision and clearly communicated what we want to achieve. And another very, very important aspect of growing a company, or well, actually for every aspect of having a company, is company culture. What kind of people you have, what kind of people you want to onboard, how do they communicate with each other, what qualifications they need to have, and so on. So here on the slide, I have Glia core values, and it's not just words for marketing. The more important part is really how is it applied in practice. So let me bring you an example. When I'm working on a product feature, and in Slack, one of our founders says that, hey, we should do it like this. So how should I interpret that? Should I think that, well, the big boss from the US is always right, so I should blindly follow? To be fair, more often than not, he is always right. Not always, but he is right. But not because really of the authority or this structure we have, but because he just has so much more domain knowledge and experience. But if I disagree with that, I can challenge it. I can speak out and do this comfortably. And by comfortable, I mean safe. So in Glia, it's really in practice sort of safe for everyone to speak up. Took some time to get used to, but really works. So that's just one of the examples. But how is a company culture, especially from communication perspective, is a key to my experience in scaling up the team. Now, moving a bit further, for a period, let's say, a year ago or a bit more, we had already grown quite a lot. We had one product manager by a user persona in the platform. When I joined, I started working as a product manager for the operator. And we had a few engineering teams, rather divided by components of the platform, which was then used by all the features needed by different user personas. And, well, it was already a lot better. We were a lot bigger team, creating a lot more value. And the theory was that, well, one product manager will focus on the domain. But what happened in reality is that if product managers work by functional user personas and engineering teams work by components, they do not sort of directly match. And another aspect is that this workload, or I would say rather business priorities, is not evenly distributed. So it often happened that as a product manager, you need to work not, or sort of quite often not in your main domain. You need to work with many engineering teams. So at one point, I was working, I think, across 3 features on 3 different user personas and with 4 to 5 engineering teams. So people get to step on each other. Also, basically, for every feature you're working on, your product trio, or this concept of product manager, product designer, and the tech lead, this changes quite often. And obviously, there's overhead of sort of constantly changing your team. Now, where we are today, or where we are aiming to be, we have put some effort on trying to bring product people, or the product management side, I would say, and the engineering teams closer together. So we have cross-functional product teams divided by 2 groups. First is the experience teams. So for example, in this contact center manager could be viewed as one experience, everything you need to run, do workforce management, have different metrics, so on and so on. So there is a dedicated team focused on that part. And also, we have the platform teams, which are sort of enablers for the experience teams. So examples include like things which are commonly needed technically from the platform by almost any functionality, like authorization, infrastructure, replicating the functionality to mobile, and compliance, and so on and so on. So the benefits we see is that as the teams are more stable. When I work on a feature, my counterparts from product design and engineering are usually the same people, so we work better and better together as one team. And also the teams are, I would say, getting more and more empowered. That when the team, not just the product manager, get to work on a dedicated domain, they become the best experts in that domain and can also, be trusted to make decisions on the product direction in that domain. So that's more or less where we are today. Are we good to go for next years to come without any changes? Well, spoiler alert, this growth and restructuring and adjustment together with it never changes. So recently we had exciting news. We acquired a machine learning company. So business-wise, it means that when our customers are buying the contact center solution, we can provide them even more. All these virtual assistants and things can be now incorporated into our product, which is great. But what it means for the product team, almost overnight, we have lots of new people. There are different processes. A fun fact is that this company, formerly called FinAI, was based in Vancouver. So now we have an office there. So with Estonia, as all the product team is in Estonia, we have 10 hours time difference. So as you can see, these are challenges. But how does this impact me or my work as a product manager? And to be honest, I don't fully know yet. But as we have a clear vision on what do we want to achieve with this addition to the company, and as these people, I recently had a chance to meet most of them, as these people have a very similar culture, especially from the perspective of communication and working together with the rest of Glia. I'm sure it's challenging, but also very exciting, and we can make it happen. So, to sum up, what I'd like you to take from this talk is that first, clarity is key. Every effort spent on really seeking and getting clarity and writing it down, what is your product vision and what exactly or what do you want to achieve is worth it. Secondly, people are obviously company's most important asset. So culture on how they work together and how they should sort of feel well in the company is absolutely worth every investment. And with growth, there's also actually quite a big challenge of keeping the culture. So that's also definitely needed. And last but not least, whether hypergrowth or just fast growth, growth always means change. So you might be afraid of it, but whether you like it or not, this will come. So better be equipped with tools like clear vision and great company culture and embrace the change instead of fighting it. This is it. If you'd like to reach out to me, here's my email. Happy to have a chat. Also, if any of this resonated with you, we have a lot of job openings, so feel free to check it out or tap the shoulder of any of my colleagues here and grab a coffee and have a chat. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ivo, so much. And we do have some questions for you, yes. And you still can insert them to Votomo, so let's go. Martin wants to know, how many product managers do you work with to mitigate the risk of hypergrowth? Is it hectic?
Sorry, can you please repeat that word?
How many product managers do you work with to mitigate the risk of hypergrowth? Is it hectic?
Hectic. Well, the team has grown sort of multiple times over the last years. And, well, many people are in the team, but I wouldn't call it that hectic. So
Not hectic.
I think we have quite, well, one thing is that, well, I believe we have quite well arranged on who does what. But of course, things often don't go as planned and so on. But what I would refer back to is a culture. What if sort of people step on each other's toes or things get hectic? Well, if you have the same values, if you communicate with each other, if you're not really competing with each other in a bad way, then it works out quite well.
Okay. Another question. How often engineers take part in shaping the company culture?
All the time. Meaning, well, we take this sort of, well, we have defined the core values, which was actually done before I joined, so I cannot speak too much about that. But it is sort of reminded or followed in practice on every level. So this sort of ways to collaborate and speak up when you need to and so on. Well, engineers do that on a daily basis. So I see it happening.
Okay. And last question. How many employees did you have when you started using the cross-functional team structure? Do you know?
Well, today we have over 300 people. And I would say we adopted this year. So short answer is more or less 300.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ivo. Let's give it up for Ivo Lõhmus.